Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Yes, it's an adventurous time of it. Yes, yes, yes. So we're being broadcast live tonight on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and also in on YouTube World. Hi, YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, the like, subscribe, the bell. You know the drill. And no matter how you are listening, make sure you stop in and say hello in one of the chat rooms. Or you can send me an email at wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY @gmail.com. Yes, drama is in the house, everyone. Yep. And if you want to support the show, please do so. You can do that by going to etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain Studio with MTN for mountain. Or you can go to patreon.com/TheSpacesBetween. And the call line is open. And that number is 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, it's 44203-393-2871. So, hi. Yes. For those of you on the radio and not on YouTube, the cat, Andromeda, we call her Drama, is happily trying to, be all up in my face, and she's quite grouchy at me right now. So yeah, if I fumble a bit, it's because I'm trying to spit the cat hair out of my mouth. Because yes, she's a cat, and it is her way or the highway. Isn't that the way it works? Yes. So, last night, just real quick, Friday night, I was not live. For those of you who catch the news, apparently winter decided it was time to arrive. And we had, I think, 4 to 6 inches of snow overnight. Most of it was down by about 11:30. And the power was out briefly. The internet was out for a little bit. Yeah, it was a good time. I see Gemini's got hot tea. Oh, yeah. It's definitely a cold finger kind of a day. Whew. And yeah, the low tonight I think is 10 degrees, and tomorrow is 15, and then say Tuesday or Wednesday is going to be back up in the mid 40s, upper or low 50s. So yeah, the icky stuff that all fell over the weekend here, it's going to go away shortly. It's not quite winter time. It's coming though. So yeah, don't mind me. I'm just going to whine a little bit because it's freaking cold. So. Oh, geez. Oh, Pete. I love winter, so that's the crazy part. I love winter. I love the seasons. I love the change of the seasons and the turning of the wheel and all of it. I love all of the bits and all the parts. But yeah, it is bloody freezing right now. Generally, I have a little bit of time to warm up to it. No pun intended. But yeah. So, tonight's show, what am I talking about tonight? So a couple of different things, kind of a hodgepodge of miscellany. And then I think in November, I want to go back over, the tools of the trade, if you will, when it comes to witchcraft. Because, it's good to just go over them again. And when I talked about them originally, I think I only had a 1-hour show, and I just blew through them so doggone fast that, yeah, there's just not enough time to get any information out there. And so yeah, we're just gonna go over that somewhere. But tonight I want to talk a little bit about altars and expectations, and what an altar really is, because there's some misconceptions, I think, when people say the word altar when it comes to witchcraft or paganism. There's just the assumption that, it's like what you see in the movies. It's the big stone bench thing, and there's melted wax everywhere and different macabre type tools and things, and that's not really what an altar is. That's just Hollywood, guys. So yeah, it's just, so I wanted to talk about that tonight. And then next Saturday, I wanted to talk about closing the portals, because it seems like, well, the veil is thin and everything. Yes, it is thin. It'll actually be thin clear up until Yule. It's a pendulum swing, if you will. And because it is cyclical, just like the seasons, the weather, time itself, just because it's cold now doesn't mean it's always going to be cold. This too shall pass. Yes. It might pass like, a mountain road in the wintertime, but yeah, it'll pass. And so, yeah, it's the veil being thin. As maybe we should talk about that too a little bit. What does that mean? Because it's something that people say all the time. It's like, oh, the veil is getting thin. And it just, I don't know. There's maybe some misconceptions. Yeah, misconceptions. And then if anybody does call in, because you can, let me know. So yeah. And yay, clarity, get a bowl, you'll love it. And wow, you guys are just blowing up the chat room. I look away and suddenly you're everywhere. You're everywhere. Yes. Hopefully the COVID will go away because it's so bloody cold. Isn't that the way it works? Oh, goodness. So, what is an altar? Let's start there. Let's just start somewhere. What is an altar? I had this all written out at one point. So, an altar. Okay, the Christian church definition, I think, is probably the best way to put it, or interpretation, is a table or flat-topped block used as the focus for a religious ritual, especially for making sacrifices or offerings to a deity. So, yeah, that's the assumption as to what it is. And yeah, it's often this big thing. So if any of you have ever been into a Christian church, often it's like a big bench or table, behind the pulpit, and there's cloth on it, and candles, and a cross, and there may be a chalice or trays for the bread for like communion, or there may be offering trays, offering plates. So yeah, just that's what the Christian look is. And BPD, I see your question. He's channeling an inner Titan there, and I'll come back to it in just a moment. I want to talk just a little bit more about an altar. Yes. So altars in general are generally found at places that are considered shrines or places of worship, generally speaking. And yeah, offerings are placed upon them. Like in Christian churches, offerings would be like your tithe plates. You generally don't offer up anything other than money these days in Christianity, at least mainstream Christianity, and that's really unfortunate, I think, because there's a certain value, if you will, or strength to an offering being something other than cash. I mean, some people don't have cash. Some people don't have money, and instead of offering money, maybe you want to offer something that has value to you, an intrinsic value. And to me, that is better than a financial value because, well, I have read the Bible. There is, discussion in there about how there's, the Pharisees and everybody were just in it for the money and people were trying to buy their way into heaven and all that. And that's not what the purpose of it was for, and that's not what offerings are for, or sacrifices. They're made in observance, or what's another word I'm trying to think of? Where's Don with his bottomless vocabulary when you need him? So not just offerings, but blah, the word isn't there. Anyways, bummer. It was that intrinsic value, the value to self, the sacrifice of something that has that value to self, whether it's, flowers or things that you've raised or something that you've crafted or created. That often, I think, would have a greater spiritual value than money. So I'm not a big fan of, the tithing plate that is so popular with Christianity. I'm just not. I understand, however, that in a situation like a ritual, for instance, if you go to a public ritual, often there will be a donation jar, and it's because in order to hold those ceremonies, even in a public space, often that there is some sort of cost involved. Even if I were to have a group of people get together here, there's going to be a cost involved. That cost will vary. It's like, am I providing candles and sage, and am I crafting the ritual myself? Is it something out of my book of shadows? Is it, something I did the research for? Are we having a big dinner? Am I cooking the food? There's the power bill that might be associated, for whatever we're doing, or time has value, and there's all these different elements and components, and often when you're getting together as a group, there is a cost involved. Now, if you're meeting in a public place, often there's a cost there too, because there's a cost for a meeting room, to reserve the room. And so if you're getting together and there's a not necessarily a tip jar, but a donation jar, drop what you can, because it helps defray the cost and helps support the group that is sponsoring or putting on the workshop, the class, the ritual, the seminar, etc. So if there's no cost to attend, you get it. Support the people that you're working with. Buy the products. When Courtney Weber was local into the area, hi Courtney, if you're listening, I had the opportunity to go and attend her Tarot for One workshop. Really awesome class, and it gave me a greater insight to tarot reading, and I found out that I really like tarot reading, and I had no idea. And so it's just, I bought the book and I got to enjoy the program, and I put a little bit in the donation jar, so the group that organized the event could help defray some of the costs. So, yes, that I totally get why you might want to leave money as a donation or an offering of some sort, because yes, there's cost involved. Now, when it comes to an offering for a deity or a spirit of some sort, spiritual guardian, your ancestors, that kind of thing, the offering should be a little different. It should be more personal. It should have meaning or importance to the deity or the spirit that you're leaving the offering for. Because if, for instance, you leave rose quartz for Hecate, the meaning isn't going to be quite the same. Rose quartz is often a stone of love. If it's something that you found and you mined and you've carved or something, that's one thing. But if it's just maybe more of an Aphrodite type stone instead of a Hecate, because the different value, different resonance with the deity. So make sure you're doing your research and doing what you need to do to provide the correct offering for the deity or the spirits that you're working with. So with Samhain being next weekend, Day of the Dead, November 1st and 2nd, a lot of people will leave, offerings of some sort for their ancestors, and that's pretty awesome, and I totally support it. Just, what would you leave as an offering for one of your ancestors? Well, for me, since I have a lot of Germanic and Celtic type backgrounds, so mead actually would be a good one for me, or some other food type of thing. So yeah, it's being aware of the recipient and what the needs of the recipient are when it comes to your offering that you might leave on your altar. All right, so hold on, I'm catching the chat room a little bit, and nope, readers aren't going to work tonight. Let's see. BPD asked a question. Let's see. Yes, great altars can symbolize the sacrifice of space in this world for your gods. It is an offering in and of itself. Yes, Great Lakes Sasquatch, you are accurate. Absolutely correct. Let's see. So BPD want to know how to know if someone is a black magic practitioner. Okay, so I'm going to start there, and because this one's a little harder, and I got a few minutes for it, and I'm not 100% sure on how to answer that, and here is why. I don't really subscribe to a black magic versus white magic comparison. In part because black magic, or the label of black magic versus white magic, is a Christian label, actually. Back in the Middle Ages, when Christianity was becoming more and more dominant, they labeled certain witches as white or good because they were helping those in the church move the faith forward. And those who were black magic practitioners were given that label because the church was less accepting of them. So if you were more of an herbalist, for instance, that'd be more of a white magic. But if you were more of a priest or priestess within your faith, your path, whether you're Odinist or heathenist or whichever, that would be considered more of a black. And so it was that labeling, the church labeling of witchcraft, that caused the whole black and white labels. So for me, witchcraft is just witchcraft, just like a quarter is a quarter is a quarter. There's a heads and there's a tails, but it's a quarter. And so if you feel that someone is practicing the darker aspects of witchcraft, and at times people are going to practice darker, some are going to practice lighter. Most people are going to fall in the middle of gray. Can you make a vow to yourself and the deities that you work with, the spirits that you work with, that you're only going to practice one type? Yes, but you have to hold yourself accountable to that, and you have to follow that tradition, or follow the guidelines within that tradition. And often that's very specific. For instance, a Dianic tradition is going to be almost exclusively feminine deities to be working with. There would be no masculine deities. So you wouldn't say, oh, the horned god, for instance. Nope, it is all feminine deities. Kind of the antithesis, or the polar opposite to Christianity, which is, generally speaking, very, very male deity. So if someone is using magic in a way that is very dark and very negative, that's probably what you're envisioning 1976 when you say black magic practitioner. It's someone who's using magic for ill or for bad things, and that for me, when I've come across people like that, they have like an oily texture, if you will, to their aura, to their personalities, the EBGB, the ooey ickies. That's the official terms, the ooey ickies. But they feel that way. They feel dark. Often they don't express themselves in a lot of positivity, although if they're a narcissistic, you can type of personality, often they can hide that part of themselves, so it's a little harder. But yeah, there are people out there who are practicing magic for the negative reasons. And what you put out there, you are going to reap. It's going to come back, and you will be able to tell that thing about them. Whether their aura will darken, the people they are around will become darker and more negative. Unpleasant things will happen around them more often. Their speech may be different, and instead of upbeat and cheerful, in a way it comes across as a little bit like a possession, just because their personality changes so much. But it's a choice rather than a forced thing. And it is a choice rather than someone who's been the recipient of a curse, for instance. That's generally not by choice, which I've talked about curses and blessings in the past. There's a little different too. So I hope that helps a little bit, 76. If not, let me know. Gemini, feel better. Just going through the chats here. Yes, I'm reading. Titan, I'm sorry you're sick. I hope you feel better. Drink your fluids, your vitamin C. Check out your iLife.com. It's good for you. Clarity, I understand, redecorating your altar. Bomber, be careful. I hope you're feeling okay. And I understand you need to eat something there, honey bunch. Great Lakes, Norse or Germanic pagans here. Don is more of an Odinist, Don Longbeard, which if you've come here from Paranormal Portal, you've seen him there. He's the one with the beard, the long beard. Great Lakes, if you want to send me an email, it's wildpaisley@gmail.com. I can hook you up with some different social media groups that are more into the Nordic traditions. There are a couple of really good podcasts and YouTubers out there who do talk more about the Nordic traditions. Yeah. Let's see. And I do talk about them a little bit. I'll probably go into different traditions a little bit more into the next couple of weeks, just because I can. Let's see. Scroll too fast.
I'm only here to eat.
Don is listening, but he's only listening so he can eat. So
Well, turn my mic on if you want, but
yeah, it's on.
But I'm eating.
Yeah, it looks like you're eating fried chicken and stuff. So, 1976, ask a question.
That's Ben.
Oh, hey, Ben. Witchcraft, does it involve spirit help? So, yes and no. And it's so yes, in that the spirits often help with when you're doing ritual work and such, and no, because a lot of it is internal and your own energies. So both.
Well, it would be if the deity or the spirit that you're calling upon decides to join their energy to that.
Mm-hmm. So there's a part of the petition process.
Yep.
That's why there's a lot of offerings and
Yep.
that kind of thing. So,
Yep.
Great Lakes has a problem because there's so many names for Northern European paganism. It's hard to know if you're on the same page. Oh, my stars, you are not kidding. All right. So on that note, we're going to stop because it's first break already. So we're going to do that. We'll come back, and I'm going to pick it up right there and talk a little bit more about Ben's question and speak to the Nordic traditions. So, yeah, be right back. Maybe.
Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Making sure I'm still on. Yeah, okay. Oh, so, hi Nightshade, welcome to the chat room, and happy Samhain to you as well. And yes, life is all just an adventure. So, Great Lakes, if you were to listen to Aerith Harger,
Yeah!
Arith, last name Harger. He's a YouTuber. Aerith is a really good resource for some of the more Nordic traditions and the more traditional Nordic.
Traditional Nordic.
Yeah. And I would start there, and but yeah, send me an email.
He has a great video called "What Is Paganism?"
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's where you start.
Yeah, he has a couple of really, really good videos. Actually, he's got several really good videos.
He's got a lot of good videos.
He's a little odd,
He is.
and it's not all COVID related from being a shut-in, but no, he's a good guy, and really a lot of good information on there. So let's see, and yeah, if you're more Nordic, like Odin. And not Thor so much, but Odin. He'll really give you some really good information there. So I would go there. And then yes, Ben, ask questions. Go ahead. It's all good, because generally it's Titan asking questions. But
I heard you say Ben was channeling his inner Titan.
Yep.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Can I talk for a second?
Yeah, you can talk for a minute. I'm just catching up.
You know what really ticks me off? You started talking about altars and things like that.
Yeah.
And then you kind of got off on a little bit of the tithing thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is tithing? Tithing is making some kind of a donation to the church for the betterment of the church. Not so much the church itself, but the people that run it. So this is the same thing as what happened, back in the old days, when a town would need a teacher. They would put out a call for teachers, and the agreement is they didn't really get paid. They didn't get paid. They get paid cash money, not normally. Maybe they'd get a stipend, and this is where the word stipend comes from, or where stipends actually mean something. A stipend is like a few bucks a week back then. But a tithe is the same thing as when a teacher makes an agreement with the community back in, say, 1800s, and the community takes care of the teacher, or in this case, a tithing, the church that is in that area, or the preacher. This is how they lived. Even way back when, if you go back to Roman times and things like that, this is how the priests and the pastors and, all of this is how they made their living. By donations to the church to help them stay alive while they're ministering or teaching, the children of God, or your children. See what I'm saying? That's what a tithe is. I'm sorry, if you've got a mega church and you own your own TV station and you're, driving around, Lamborghinis, you don't need tithing. That's not tithing. That's theft. So, my apologies to take you off on that tangent.
Yeah, it's okay. You had a soapbox moment. It's all good. I get it. Because I tithing is an assumed.
Yeah, now they say oh, now you have to tithe 15% of your check. Go F yourself. You have millions of dollars in the coffers of the church. You're making money off that money just simply by interest. Don't tell me I have to give you money.
Okay, it's not just the big mega churches doing it.
Oh, no, it's not, but
all right.
There's a lot of churches that, anyhow.
All right, so yes, offerings are different than tithes. in my opinion. So,
Yes, Justin. Aerith Harger.
Aerith Harger. So let's see. Is there? Let's see. Ben asked another question. Can you tell the difference between a spirit and a demon? Again, it's a tricky question because spirits can be either benevolent or malevolent or neutral. Often your ancestral spirits or your spirit guides are going to be more benevolent and want what's best for you. The malevolent, or the ones that are bad, they're wanting to use you for whatever reason. Those are the ones that generally end up in the creepy dolls or running the Ouija boards. Those are bad. Don't use those. Demons, generally speaking, are going to be malevolent. However, they are tricksy. Very, very tricksy. And they may come across as benevolent in order to get their hooks in you and then really make things go sideways, and that's when you are climbing the walls. So yeah, Nightshade agrees with you, Dawn.
Apparently a whole lot of people do.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. I really do. That's part of the reason why we're here.
Yeah. So
Can you turn my headset up, please?
Sure.
Number 1, please. There you go. Perfect.
Okay, cool.
Just don't break it. Goodness.
Sorry, the cat touched it.
Yeah,
So just be careful, Ben, because often those spirits or entities that are inherently bad or evil will pose as good in order to manipulate you.
Ben is the one who called in about the
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, you heard because he's called you.
Oh, he's called me. Okay.
He called in here and talked about his grandma letting them play with the Ouija board and the attachment to his brother. And then his brother becomes... Okay, so I think that's where all of this is coming from, especially when he's talking about, can you tell the difference between a white and a black... white practitioner and a black magic practitioner.
All right, so if you're spending a lot of time around someone who's practicing the darker aspects or of magic and basically using you as a battery, you're not a copper top, but you will feel drained after an experience with being around them.
Yes.
And it's not like, an introvert's drained after being in a crowd. No, because that's real. But no, it's like you're fighting the flu drain.
Mm-hmm.
There's exhaustion, your bones ache. And the longer you are around them, the more you will feel or see those physical effects upon your own body and your own mental health. Often, it is more on the mental health that you will feel it than anywhere else.
Not necessarily.
Because with the mental health aspect and just getting into your brain and your thought processes and your subconscious and your dreams, it makes it harder to care for yourself, A. B, you'll be a lot more dependent upon someone. And often those that are losing their energy because someone is taking it from them, you can see the effects of it on their skin, the haunted look in someone's eyes. That is a real thing. So let's see, and I clicked a button, and let's see.
If you don't know what it does, don't click the button.
Yeah. Yes, Marie agreed. Yep. Sorry, catching up on chats. Is spiritualism. So Ben says he's very interested in spiritualism rather than religion right now. There is a trend where people say, "Oh, I'm very spiritual," and it's like, well,
what does that mean?
Yeah. those who don't know what that means, when they say that, they just say it, and it's like this blanket statement to make people quit talking to them about religion. And that's not a bad thing.
Oh, crap.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, yes. Psychic vampire. Absolutely, Nightshade.
Yes.
So you can be spiritual. And that means, and you can be spiritual even.
I think we're having barbecued cat tomorrow.
We're having drama apparently in the house. The cat and the dog are not quite sure what they're doing yet. So you can revere spirits. You can even within Christianity, you can revere the Christian deities. You can revere the Nordic deities. You can honor them, and you can, speak to them and communicate with them, and that is being spiritual in nature. Religion often has that spiritual aspect, wrapped up and smothered by dogma. So instead of embracing the formalized religion of, say, a Baptist, I'm picking on Baptists, I'm sorry, which there's a lot of hellfire and damnation in being a Baptist. If you're more interested in the religious aspects of, say, John the Baptist and the beauty behind his works, that's something else entirely. So there's spiritual, and then there's religion. I don't know if that helps or confuses
Well,
things.
Great Lakes Sasquatch says spiritualism is a term used to find the path to finding your way. Yeah, it could be used as a transitional word, a transitional spot. That is true, but it really, in and of itself, it doesn't really tell what your spirituality is. But once again, it's a word of journey, not a word of arrival. So yeah, true enough.
So I'm just catching up with the chat. You guys are just chatting away today. Oh my gosh. Let's see. And there's names in here I don't recognize. So hi everybody who's new.
I think you're caught up.
Yeah, I think I'm caught up. Yeah. Spiritualism, yes, Dee is right. Spiritualism is a religion in its own right, but often it doesn't have the trappings of dogma, the absolute, the man-made rules, if you will.
Yes and no. Because, you can say it's, for that matter, you could say superstitions are a spirituality. So,
Yes. And Nightshade says, instead of say picking on Christianity, say making an observation of. Yes, you're right. Words, good words. Good words. So
I love Titan. He's awesome. But I mean, the thing is, though, is, and even you have said it, about Christianity, that who is to say that the Christian God isn't a Zeus or an Odin of that pantheon that consists of angels and being like the children of, the Thors and the God, I can't even think, but you know what I mean. You got Odin and Frigga, and then you've got Thor and Freya, and the different. So you've got God, and you've got Jesus, and then you've got the angels and the archangels and the choirs, all the different choirs, and then all the saints. You could say you could put the saints up against the demigods. Yes. Specifically like Hercules, and so you could say that. So that could be its own pantheon, but the problem is that when they're saying that the Trinity, the Godhead, the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, they're all the same person. Yeah, okay.
That'd be Janus.
Yeah, Jesus. Yes, let's go to the Romans. Yes, Janus. Anyhow, but we recognize that as a possibility. Don't ever get the idea that we discount Christians because they're Christian. We discount we compare, we contrast. But, in and of itself, if you look at it that way, it is its own pantheon. So there you go.
Yes. Let's see. There was a Titan asked the question, how much training should one have before self-exploration in paganism? Okay, honestly, none.
None.
Pick up.
You don't have to. You don't have to get trained to go to church.
Yeah. Start reading. Start doing your research. Watch some videos. Come here, hang out, chat. Send me an email. Hit me up on Facebook. You don't have to have a teacher or someone to train you to learn about paganism. Now, is it good to have at least a peer that you can talk to and bounce ideas off? Yeah, it helps. Just like a study buddy will always help you. Okay, not always help you, but a study buddy will often help you. It's... Yeah, have I taken a few classes off and on? Yeah, sure, yes, because I find them interesting. And I love getting those other viewpoints. I've done a few webinars and other things like that. I've gone to a couple of different workshops. Sorry, laundry's done. But am I, a priestess, for instance, within a specific tradition? No, I'm not. I'm an intuitive witch, and I'm pretty content to stay that way. So when it comes to what tradition you're going to follow or what path you're going to follow, if you're going to do your own thing, you're more of an intuitive. You may identify as an Odinist or heathenist or whatever. But if you wanted to be specific within a tradition, for instance, I'm using the Dianic traditions again because they are definitely feminine, and there are some specific, trainings there for that tradition. Or Wicca. Wicca is a tradition.
Wicca is a perfect example of training.
Wicca is generally considered a religion because there's a lot more religious observance.
Plus, they have a 503c3, 503c.
Yeah, Wicca's done a lot to keep paganism alive and well.
That's true.
In the
they
US.
are mainstream paganism.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see. The Intuitive Witch is a good one. Scott Cunningham is another good author. Ben, if you wanted to start there. The Inner Temple of Witchcraft is a very spiritual book. It's not necessarily a pagan book or a witchcraft specific, but it's spiritual. It's a good one to help find your spiritual path and get in touch with your inner energies and your inner guides. Because we all have spirit guides. Anybody who has listened to Paranormal Portal with the shows with Deb Varner, she works with her spirit guides pretty doggone regularly. And holy cow, is she really in tune with her guides and how they communicate with her. And it's awesome. And so when it comes to that, sorry, the Inner Temple of Witchcraft will help you find, or at least start the journey, finding what your own spirit guides are telling you. Because regardless if you're a Buddhist, pagan, witch, Odinist, heathen, Christian, etc., we all have spirit guides. Some of them are face palming, but that's okay. Your spirit guides, guardian angels, often very synonymous. And start your journey, pick up some books. Inner Temple of Witchcraft, probably just really the best place to start, by Scott Cunningham.
Right.
And it's more of a Wiccan approach, just so you know, and journal. Journal.
So Titan says Paisley. I guess I meant doing activities such as runes, cards, and things like that. Still the same. or just dive in.
Yeah.
You know, cards. Pick up Courtney Weber's book, Reading for One. That's a great break it down book. It's pretty basic, you know, but she shares her thoughts, and that's what's important. You know, but any deck of tarot cards is going to give you the idea of what the cards represent. But you know what? You don't have to go by that, because, you know, there's certain ways to look at cards. You know, I mean, if you have a One of Cups, doesn't mean it's, you know, stellar. You know, wouldn't it be better to have 10 cups of mead? You know, but still, you know, you know, it's just a matter of how you read them or what they feel to you at the time. So, you know, Reading for One by Courtney Weber would be a good book. I would definitely suggest that. We have that on our bookshelf. You know, as far as runes, I don't know where to go with that.
So with the runes, those are, you know, learning the Elder Futhark is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
And understanding the different rune symbols. Same with the Ogham, which is more of a Celtic. Just so you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Ogham is spelled weird. A lot of the Celtic words are spelled weird, at least according to this North American person. Yeah, Ogham is Ogham. Looks like Ogham. It's not, it's Ogham. But all of those different tools, the divination type tools, have different meanings. If you do use tarot cards, there should be a deck interpretation book where the author or the creator of the deck gives a basic meaning for the different symbols used in the cards. Not all decks are created the same. For instance, Thoth decks, not really my gig. Don't like them. They are just creepy, dark to me, and I don't want anything to do with them. But my Raven deck, love it. So, you know, it's, you know, you just look at different decks. Often eclectic shops will have a space where you can kind of look at the different decks, get a feel for the cards. And yes, you can buy your own deck of cards. You don't have to have them gifted to you.
know,
That's a wives' tale.
Yeah, no. If a deck calls you, pick it up.
Period.
Anything. If anything calls you, pick it up. But make sure that it's, you know, a good vibe. Let's just say that.
Yeah, good vibe. So with runes, there's apps you can download. Same with tarot, actually, as to start learning. There's books out there.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of doing them repetitively. When you're using divination tools, especially at the very, very beginning, journal everything. Journal the cards or runes you pull, the questions you've asked, your interpretation. Did your interpretation have merit? Did it come through? Is that really what it meant, or was it not quite there? Because it's a way to learn. And then you can always go back through and reread your journey and your journal entries, because it'll help you to learn.
Yeah, you'll develop your own style, your own intuition on what this may mean to you. You know, another thing people talk about is, well, when a card comes upside down, you have to read it as the opposite. No, you don't.
Yeah, no,
you don't have to read reverses.
I don't use reverse, just because they're not my thing.
The deck is full of pitfalls all by itself. It's a matter of the question you ask. It doesn't matter if it's upside down or if it's upside right. It's going to give you the answers that you need. Now, it depends on the question you ask. Just because you got an upside down hangman, or you got a reversed castle, you know, or a reversed tower, it doesn't mean your world's coming crashing down. It just doesn't, you know.
It just means, well, often it's not a world-ending type reading. It's an aspect of your journey is changing, and that's what it is, rather than, you know, everything's going to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
So thank you, Marie. I appreciate that. And yeah, pendulums. The pendulums are a great tool to use. It's simple yes, no, maybe. I mean, they are really great.
Well, Titan said he pays attention to numbers, and that's a great way to start too. You know, check out
angel numbers.
Angel numbers, if you want to call them that, that's fine. but they're all pretty close together. So yeah, a little numerology. Maybe we might have to do a math lesson on a Friday night again.
That was fun. Yeah, yeah, stone hobby, absolutely right. Whatever you choose, don't limit yourself to other people's restrictions. If that makes any sense. So, if someone says, for instance, the devil card. Now, make it even easier, the death card. In tarot, someone draws the death card, people assume, oh, someone's going to die. No, that's not generally their interpretation. It generally means there's a transformation coming, there's a death of a thing,
Right.
or a habit.
An ending.
It's an ending, yeah, it's an ending. But, in order to get a beginning, often you have to have an ending. It's a transition thing. And it was, as far as, pendulums go, yeah, anything could be a pendulum. I got my ukulele. Ha! We'll be right back. We'll play the bowl. We'll see you in a few. This is quick. This is Paisley Wild, and we are adventuring off into the spaces between. So yeah, you know what? No bumper music, so we're gonna play the Play the bowl, see what the cat says. Maybe. And the cat walked away.
Okay, so I have an early morning, so I have to go to bed.
You're gonna duck out.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you're working crazy hours.
crazy, many crazy hours. Yeah. So anyhow, you put me on my camera just sucks. It's just out of whack because I haven't been on for a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, yeah, I gotta get to bed. So, oh hey, there I am. Yeah, now it finally catches up. Hi. So yeah,
You look like you're about to fall asleep over there.
yeah, I am. So I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. So, good night.
All right.
I didn't sleep well last night, long day. So, all right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Good night. Ben asked a question. So about the attachments, and if you yourself have been attached, for instance, because it does happen, and often you can tell, because you will have gaps, if you will, in your memory, like blackout episodes. It may be when you encounter others, they'll be like, well, you did this thing the other day, and wow, you're kind of a jerk about it, and it's not what you're normally like. And there'll be that almost a duality, a polar opposite, and it'll come across as being potentially like a bipolar situation almost, or not bipolar, split personality type situation. And that's a more extreme case, I believe. But yeah, there'll be gaps. Your dreams may be a little bit bizarre. That may be a place to start to see if you do have an attachment. Is to journal your dreams. There will be things that come up in your dreams that your subconscious is trying to tell you. There may be a theme to your dreams as far as being trapped or that dark presence looming over your shoulder or something like that. Because often our subconscious will tell you that there is a problem, and we as a society today don't really listen to our subconscious as much as we used to. The quiet voice in the back of our head, the whisper in our sleep. And so I would say when your subconscious is loudest is often when you're asleep. Journal your dreams. And then go over them with someone. If you are seeing a therapist, that may be a good person to talk to. Therapy is a big deal. Therapy is real. I do recommend it because sometimes you do need to talk through things with someone else. I'm not a professional therapist here, so I don't want to just say, hey, yeah, do this, because that's not okay. But yeah, I do generally recommend, go talk to the therapist. And Ben, part of the reason why I say journal them is because, say you journal your dreams every night for 6 weeks. It's a long time, and there's a lot there, and I get it. But if you go back through and read your journal entries about your different dreams, you should start to notice trends or common themes that show up in your dreams that will say, hey, you know, this is a thing that's happening, or that may be a thing that is happening, and your subconscious will start saying, oh, okay, well, now that you're listening, we're going to do this and we're going to talk about that. And so yeah, it's just that's why I say journal. It's not because you can't remember them, but because often in reading the written account of your dreams that you may have had before, it helps you to focus on the areas that you might need to work on. And yeah, talk to a therapist or a spirit, someone who can help with your spirit guides. Let's see. It sounds like you had a rough time of it, Ben. Holy cow. Where's some tourmaline? Black tourmaline is good for you. It's very, very protective. I carry black tourmaline pretty much all the time. All the time. I've got tourmaline and hematite in my bracelet right here. Because, yeah. It's really good to just do that. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, and sometimes you do have to face that which causes you the fear. You do. You know, I personally, for instance, have a very, very strong respect for heights. You could probably call it a fear, but I'm going to go with a very strong respect for heights. And that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. And I suppose the best way for me to try to overcome that would be to spend more time in places where gravity could impact me more. But I'm not there yet, so no. You know, that's part of the reason why I tell people, or say often, to do the therapist or go to the therapy is it's not because I don't think you can overcome the problems on your own or talk through the issues on your own, but because sometimes you really do need that outside person to bounce ideas off of, to communicate, or to tease loose that elusive thought that's in the back of your head, or that thing that you need to work on that you just are almost afraid to work on because you know it's going to hurt and you don't want to hurt yourself again or almost more. So, yeah, that's, yeah. So there's that. So, altars. We started off with altars. Got really sidetracked. Don got on a soapbox. Yeah, it's been a good night. Actually, it has been a good night. And the night is just screaming by. I can't believe it. So, the reason why I wanted to talk about the altars is because, hold on, Titan Mama Ocean. Okay. Yes. Yes. Is because the assumption that an altar has to be a certain way. If you go on like Pinterest or Instagram or Reddit or even Twitter or Facebook, any of those different social media platforms, where people want to take a picture of their altar and share it. So if I've shared a picture of an altar, it's either I've staged it specifically for public consumption, because I have done that. Because sometimes, yes, I do have an altar that is for others to view. Yes. But often it's because I've taken a picture and I'm changing my altar, and so the way it was set is no longer the way it is. Because something has changed. There's some aspect of what I'm looking or trying to do has changed. And so when it comes to an altar, you don't have to have, all of the specific tools that, like if you watch The Craft, for instance, that they say that you have to have. No, you don't have to. Sorry, once upon a time, when paganism was the rule of the land, most people who practiced did not have tools specifically for their practice or their religious observances, their honoring of the deities and the spirits. They just did. Either it was maybe a rock in their pocket or a stick that reminded them of something or some place, that kind of thing. So, and that's and that's just the way it was. And so now, when you see all these social media things and images of people doing their altar, it's like, to me, it's very staged. It's very artificial. And that's my interpretation. It's perhaps my issue to deal with, rather than someone else's. It's mostly because I feel that an altar is not just this one thing. It shouldn't be like a staged setup. The things on your altar should really resound with you and your connection to the spirits and the deities and what's important to your practice. And often that's going to change from one month to the next, even from one day to the next. I see Bomber and Dee and Gemini, you guys are all talking about Mama Ocean, and oceans and such, and Lewis and such, and yeah. You know what? There's that rainwater, that storm element is calling to you. Anybody who's ever spent any time out in the weather knows it can change like that. So, it's okay to change it often and quickly. So, yeah, it changes. So when it comes to your altar itself, it doesn't have to be this static chalice and athame and wand and bell and statuette and incense. Honestly, your altar could be a piece of driftwood that you found at the ocean that reminded you of the experience and maybe something that happened there. Or lightning glass, where lightning hit the sand if you're at the beach. It could be, if you're out on a hike, it could be a feather. It could be a rock. It could be a painting. It could be a painting that you did. It could be a painting that somebody else did for you. It could be any of those things. So an altar is not a static structure. It is your literal touchstone to your path. And so for those that are, more in the pagan pantry or in the broom closet, however you want to call it, and you can't just, put an altar out there with, say, Aphrodite on it, because people aren't going to get it, or you have other family members who just don't understand and you don't want to deal with that backlash, which I totally get. And there's a reason why people stay in the pagan pantry their entire life. It's just they don't want to deal with the stuff that comes with family or friends not really understanding. Yeah, really don't. And so, that it could be, instead of, an image of Thor, maybe it's an image of a thunderstorm, or a picture of a thunderstorm, or like waves crashing upon a lighthouse for for Poseidon, or it could be, trying to think, it could be raven flower or ravens for, Hecate or Odin, or there's a lot of deities that resound with ravens. So, there's a lot of different ways to interpret what your altar may mean. Maybe it's a picture on your coffee cup, for crying out loud. So it doesn't have to be just this one thing that is like a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle of variety of things that you just put in some place that you're going to go and that's your altar. It could be your seasonal wreath, or your seasonal decorations that you have around your house. And we all have some sort of decorations that we change up throughout the year, whether we're adding or taking away or whatever. There are different things. And so for those of you who are in the pagan pantry, broom closet, whatever, don't assume that you can't have an altar or that place in your home or even office or car that resounds with your practice, with your faith, with your tradition and where you're trying to go, because you can have that without it being overtly symbolic of being a witch, for instance. You don't have to, like, for instance, I was making a lot of noise because you can't see it. I have a raven, a skull on my necklace, because I follow Hagate. Do I have to wear a raven skull around my neck? No. Do I because I want to? Yeah. It's my choice. I have a tattoo of an acorn on my forearm because I'm called by Kanunos. That's an association for me. I could also just, have some acorns in my jewelry box, and that could count as my altar if I needed it to. So, it's the need to demonstrate the size of your altar is not necessary. We don't have to have, the biggest chalice, the gold-plated that, or the silver this, or, the gem-encrusted things. You really don't. You just have what calls to you. So when you're out hiking or adventuring or shopping or walking or whatever it is that you do, your altar could be any combination of the things in your world. Kitchen witch, maybe it's your measuring cups, or your cookbooks. Honestly, it could be anything. Now, granted, if you walk into the house, you'd probably kind of get a feeling on the surface that I'm not as Christian as you might think I could be in the main part of the house. But once you come down into my crafting area, oh yeah, it's kind of glaringly obvious. I've got a couple of headdresses and brooms and crystal ball and candles and all sorts of stuff. So, but yeah, because that's what appeals to me. We all have candles anymore. Not just, we have them because the power goes out, because yeah, they do. But, it's, a candle could be pretty representative of your altar. So I guess the reason why I wanted to talk about altars so much today or tonight is because I want people to understand that you don't have to have all those tools out there in display. It could be something simple. It could be a picture. It could be a painting. It could be, it could be something you found, a bird's nest, driftwood, seashells, feathers, plants. Put a little fairy garden in one of your potted plants. I mean, that could be your altar because, hey, oh, look, it's a cute fairy garden. And it's my altar. Both. So it's just remember, you don't have to be overt when it comes to being a witch if you don't want to. Great Lakes, my family is very Lutheran as well. And most of them do not know that I am no longer Lutheran. Most of them assume I still am. And it's just easier that way. And if it's not Jesus, it's the devil. If you had the assumption that, oh, hey, you're a witch, why do you worship Satan? It's like, but Satan is Christian, not pagan. So, odd, awkward silence. So yeah. I get it, Great Lakes. Get it, yes. Let's see. So what else did I want to talk about? Because I had a couple things. The altar is the big one. Let Don get on a soapbox. There was an article that was on pathos.com. Possibly Titan. Do that sometimes. Yes. Maybe. So at pathos.com, the Pathos has articles for all sorts of different things, different traditions from not just pagan but Christian, etc., etc. And they had an article that came out this past week by Gwyn, and the article title is "It's a Great Time to Be a Witch," or honestly, I believe it's a great time to be a witch. Not just because it's Samhain, but because it seems to be on a momentum, a trend that we're experiencing or seeing as witchcraft becomes a more accepted spiritual path, and it hasn't been just like real startlingly obvious in the last 10 years or so, but more in the last several decades. So there's several podcasts now, there's YouTube shows, radio programs, books, online resources, etc., where for those who want to learn more about being a witch or Wiccan or pagan or follow or find your own spiritual path, there's a lot of information out there. Like Scott Cunningham's good, Courtney Weber's good, and it's so it's a little complicated. So on the one hand, there's some difficulties, yes, with the difficulty of it, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Harry Potter. Really, there is. And the craft isn't as real as it is, but as Hollywood says it is, but it's out there, so yeah. But, and still in today's world, there are a lot of regions where it's very, very dangerous to be a witch or openly practicing, even an interest in the occult is dangerous. There's beheadings that still happen because, oh, you're a witch, So I don't want to naysay that, but generally speaking, cat hair. Sorry, excuse me. There's still the stigma, so be careful, but there is a lot more interest, and with the additional interest, there's been a greater level of acknowledgement, not necessarily acceptance, but acknowledgement. Yeah, acknowledgement rather than acceptance. Because, yeah, Christianity is more accepting. For instance, that witches exist. They are like, yeah, they're out there. They don't always accept us. Generally, they don't. It's complicated. But we are becoming a more accepted part of society again, which is weird to say that. Hold on. Lucky says, just real quick, by the way, paganism, Wicca, and witchcraft have nothing to do with feminism. Apparently there's a statistician out there saying that after a wave of feminism, there's a rise in the occult. Yeah, no. I'll come back to that after the break, because we're almost to the break. And I could spend about 5 minutes talking about that. Yeah, really easy. Lots of soapboxes tonight, but that's good. It's good. Very good. Going to our last break. We'll be right back. See you in a few.
Lord, return the sun. As we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done. Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. It's our last session. It's been a crazy fast night. It has. Yes, I will play the bowl again here in just a moment. Just real quick. Ow. Sorry, it's a cat. The feminism thing, yes. So, part of the reason why I think that paganism and witchcraft is assumed to be a feminist movement is because we are no longer deifying just the masculine energy. We are also acknowledging the deification of the feminine energy. And not only do we just accept it, but we embrace it. Wiccans often will say the Lord and the Lady, the horned god and the lady. That's pretty straightforward. There's the duality when it comes to that deity energy, both the masculine and feminine. And adding the feminine aspect of spirituality and paganism doesn't mean you're a feminist. It means that you revere both. You give equal weight to both the masculine energy and the feminine. Because, it's really hard to have life without both the male and the female, just in general. And the rejection of the feminine deity or the feminine energy was in part to reduce the power and authority that women had in pre-Christian culture. And so now that the pendulum is swung and we're coming back to accepting the feminine energies again, sure, we're considered feminists, but we're not. I don't consider myself a feminist, more of a realist, I suppose, than anything. And so, do I feel that men and women are equal? Generally speaking, yes. Equal opportunity, not necessarily equal ability. For instance, one of my coworkers is 5 foot. It's harder for her to reach the top shelf of the cabinet. And that's just because she's, a foot and a half shorter than I am. That doesn't mean that she's less. It just means she's shorter. Equal opportunity, just not necessarily the same ability. So she's had to figure out another way to do things. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's pretty normal in my mind. Let's see. I hope that was really what I wanted to say, Mini-Me, she goes to jiu-jitsu. She loves jiu-jitsu. At our next promotion ceremony, she'll be going up a belt. If she sticks to it and keeps practicing and stops giggling all the time because she is a silly goose sometimes. But I want her to know how to protect herself and do what she needs to do to take care of herself. That's not something I was taught at that age. I just figured it out, and I'm tall, and apparently tall people are scary in general, I guess. It's weird for me to not be the tallest person in the room sometimes. So, I think it's more important that we teach our girls, our girl children, that they have the same opportunities to accomplish things. They may have to work harder because our physical strengths are a little different, between men and women, but that's about it. And boys, our boy children, need to be taught that they can't just do things because they're bigger. It's not a free pass. So it'll feel a little complicated there, but yeah, I don't. Mini-Me will happily feed the chickens in her tutu and fairy wings and mucking boots, and will go play in the mud in her fairy dress. So, it's just, just let them be. Let them learn how to be who they are. Sage advice. Let's see. All right, so, yes. So, play the bowl real quick, because I can. Yeah, love the bowl. So bowls can be used a couple different ways. The singing bowl, loop-de-loop. You can tap just like I did. In energy work or sound baths, you can do, you place the bowl on the part of a body that needs the work. I had a migraine a week and a half ago, and I was at work, and we took one of the big bowls and flipped it upside down over my head and rung the bowl while it was sitting on my head. And I gotta tell you, that was the most bizarre feeling ever. Oh my stars, it felt so good. Oh my gosh, it felt so good, but bizarre at the same time. So yeah, I could feel it in my teeth. It's crazy. Yeah. It's called a mallet, even though it's a stick with some leather around it, which would be good. When we inverted it and it was sitting on my head, we used a mallet like you would use for a timpani or a bass drum. So, blue moon water. So, if you Google blue moon water, it's interesting. And I can't spell. There we go. Yeah, interesting. So, yes, I will go over that, I promise. So, right now, just going back to this article that I was talking about, even though there are a lot of people out there using, witchcraft and paganism to make money, which they do. You can go to Etsy, you'll see it. Yeah. They're always going to be there. There's always going to be people willing to have tools of the trade, if you will, for sale at a discount, and the people will buy because woohoo, it's a little cheaper, it's really cool. But often it's cheaply made, so be aware of where you're sourcing your materials. For instance, Palo Santo incorrectly sourced is not ethical and is really bad for the environment, so yeah. Yeah, pay attention to where you're getting your tools. But you know, we have the opportunity to gain more information, and learn from one another as contemporary witchcraft is becoming more common, more acceptable. And it's cool that there's so many more resources out there. The esoteric shops are increasing. For instance, in 1990, I think it was the census said that there's like 8,000 Wiccans in 1990. In 2008, there's 340,000. 340,000. It's a big difference from 8,000. A big difference. And there's another research. Pew Research did a survey, says that 0.4% of Americans, or between 1 and 1.5 million people in the U.S., identify as Wiccan or Pagan. So yeah, our community is growing. And so for those that are listening that are looking for more information and trying to expand the community, there's a lot out there. You do have to be aware there's just people being ridiculous, yes. Because yes, but there's a lot more information available. And I think there's a frustration with a lot of the common Christian themes, if you will, that people are just dissatisfied. They're not feeling balanced with it, and so people are starting to, what is there? What else is out there? And the what about the feminine magic or the feminine energy? And so looking into it more and getting more information and being aware of it. Plus, there's been some significant abuses within some of the Abrahamic faiths that people are just, they're done with and wanting to walk away. So yeah. And yeah, it is a little harder to do circles and that kind of thing with like the COVID stuff. But it's okay. I think we'll be fine. So moon water. So moon water, generally speaking, is just water that has absorbed the energy or the energetic properties of the moon. So everything in our world, above and below and within, has an energetic signature. And so, say distilled water, for instance, often has very little energetic signature. It's considered a dead water, if you will, because there isn't that much energy. So people may want to, put stones or crystals within their water. You see the infusions and everything. That's to change the energetic properties of the water they're drinking and using it to drink or to wash with. So moon water is very similar. You're changing the energetic qualities of the water using the energy of the moon. You can use the full moon, you can use the new moon, you can use the sun, and you can use a blue moon. I have water that I collected for a spring solstice with an eclipse a couple years back that I used specifically for certain rituals, anointing especially. And water that is blessed or or charged. Yes. Ben, Reed Cunningham, Scott Cunningham, The Inner Temple of Witchcraft, excuse me. So with the moon water, often the energetic qualities change a little bit with the different types of moons. So for instance, the wolf moon just happened. It's because the wolves are starting to howl. I think it was the wolf moon. They blend together, I'm sorry. Or the hunter's moon, that's what it was. And so the energetic properties are going to be a little different. Now with the blue moon, often if you're using the water from a blue moon, it's blessed or retains and holds the energetic properties longer than other moon cycles. Okay, hold on. Got a call real quick. If I don't get back to the blue moon water tonight, I'll get it on Friday. So, hold on. Hey, Nacy, you're on the air. Hello? Hello?
Hello, the miraculous perfection of the unique individual.
Hello, Nacy. What's new in your world?
Absolutely all the fantastic things that I've been able to be aware of.
Excellent.
Such as yourself. So you like that? Was that
That's good. That's
nice
good.
little
Like
touch there on that end one?
Yeah.
So if I may go back in time a little bit of the beginning of your show when you were talking about positive and negative entities and the detection of the such.
Mm-hmm.
If I may humbly suggest that when you use critical thinking and complete honesty within yourself and try to reflect on the vibration of another entity, I do believe you have the ability to detect negative and positive. But that being said, through my 53 years of experiencing entities of all shapes and sizes and of the such, that there are also entities that are neutral, that in a sense you almost don't get a impression from them at all, being positive or negative. But then on top of that, there are entities that are in the practice of shielding their energies. And some people will do this themselves when they find themselves in the presence of entities that are considered like energy vampires, where you more or less, like on Star Trek, if you're a Star Trek fan, shields up. And I recommend strongly that we utilize what our modalities are to protect ourselves, because it's better to be cautious about what you are doing, but not hyper cautious to the point of where it's preventing you from doing it is what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's very true, because in part, if you don't push yourself a little bit, it's really hard for you to grow, and it's often hard for you to understand what you're experiencing. But it's logic and reason will often, show you the way if there's that negative energy out there is attached to you or is interfering with what you're trying to accomplish. Ben wants to know, how do you tell the difference between a negative and positive energetic being?
I guess it would be the generalization of your perspective of the individual, because if an individual is someone who is in the negativity of it all, then another negative entity helping them with their direction of course is a positive thing to them, as the same as to entities that are in the other spectrum of positivity. And the same goes for the neutral entities. When we generalize it from the perspectives, for lack of a better term, evil works with evil and light works with light. And evil, their big white whale, is when they have the ability to flip someone in the light that are generally more in the light or positive. And this is the biggest challenge, is we get so caught up in semantics, and that's why I try to simplify things. But in this world, it becomes simplex of that Holy Trinity, positive, neutral, and negative. But it never ever hurts to ask another entity's opinion, especially if you know of an entity that has adapted and utilizes their tools of divination or critical analysis.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And I would even say some people, through some arts of divination, like you were talking about tarot cards and runes and I Ching fortune, Chinese fortune sticks and dowsing rods and even dice or flipping the coin. We have all of these tools at our fingertips to utilize in our discernment, but ultimately within love, within positivity, without fear, without negativity, then where do we lay or lie with our discernment?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, sometimes you really do need that outside influence too, or that outside interpreter of what you're experiencing. So I really think our subconscious will often lead the way and tell us what we need. It's just a matter of trying to speak the same language as our subconscious sometimes.
Well, when you go to a doctor and they make their diagnoses, a lot of times we hear, get a second opinion. Mm-hmm. So why not, if you have an individual that you know through your experience with this individual that they're going to be forthright with you and truthful? Because unfortunately, sometimes our friends are our worst enemies for fear of losing your friendship, that they'll say, hey, you really do look really, really nice with that paisley turquoise headband or, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and second opinion, always a good thing. Well, almost always a good thing. And yeah, when it comes to wondering if you are dealing with a negative or positive energetic leech, if you will, and you don't know, it's time to talk to someone and get that outside opinion and that outside interpretation. So, Ben, I would recommend either reaching out to Dee or Naysay, either one. You can do that through the chat here. And both of them have really good information and give you some really good guidance, more so than I could. So.
Oh, don't doubt yourself there, fearless leader.
Nah, I'm just driving the boat. I'm not always navigating.
One question I have real quick for you. I know we're getting close to the end of the show, and thank you so much for taking my call. I've been trying to research about sallow, and I am getting conflicting finds where sallow is supposed to be the new moon or the full moon of the first full or new moon after the equinox. Have you found any references to that?
For which one? The no.
So
Not off the top of my head, but I can look into it. I've got a interesting
Yeah, well,
library.
Sorry, go ahead. There's
It's,
a little bit of a lag.
it's okay. I acquired an interesting library. I'll have to look it up.
Right. Well, it's really exciting no matter what precious moment we find ourselves in. And it's ironically interesting that we have this once in a blue moon and it happens on this calendar date that somebody threw out there and said, hey, this is when we're going to have this, that, or the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
So trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. Thank you, Paisley. Have a beautiful night.
Thank you, Nase. Have a good night.
Toodles.
So yeah, there's the full moons. I've talked about the different names. I'll go into it on Friday. You may have to remind me, so hold me accountable, guys. So that's it for tonight. So merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. Thanks for tuning in and send me emails.
Lord within the
wildbeast@gmail.com.
sun, as we will, so mote it be. The spell forever does.